verse 26. Jesus is talking to the disciples and he says, "But Jesus beheld them and said to them, with men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible." What is Jesus Christ talking about, Brother Norman? He was talking about the salvation of the soul at that time. But all things are possible. Not just some things, not the good things, not the bad things, but when it talks of Jesus, when it talks of God, all things are possible. All things that are beneficial to the soul, for the righteous. It's talking about forgiveness, understanding, learning, patience, all those things that are godly, that are of God and in His Spirit. That's what He's talking about. These things are impossible in your flesh. You know, what I'm doing today is I'm looking at, you know what, I try to be a factual man. I try to look at the facts, try to look at reality. I try to be a realist, but you know what? Sometimes I need to put facts and reality to the side and say, you know what? It's facts versus faith. Problems versus promise. And I have to think about that. Instead of looking at facts all the time, looking at facts, Lord, this is what it looks like. This is how it is right now. But you know what? There's a thing in there called faith. Amen. So faith overrules facts. Yes, the promise of God overrules any problem that we encounter. Whether it be physical, whether it be spiritual, whether it be emotional, whether it be mental, whatever it may be. Facts are overruled by faith. Amen. And our problems in life are overruled by the promise of God. So when Jesus was telling them that, that's what He was telling them about all things that were good. Forgiveness, patience, understanding, all those things, peace and love. That is impossible for us to obtain or maintain in our flesh. But it's a gift of God, in the Spirit of God. So that's what Jesus was telling them. All things are possible through God. Things you don't understand today, through God, all things are possible. It may look bleak today, it may not look good today, but through God, all things are possible. Amen. What you need in your life, the need that you have in your life that you desire to serve God, you desire that to be fulfilled in your life. Lord, I'm praying for an answer and I'm holding on to you, Lord Jesus. That promise is bigger than your problem. That truth, that faith that you have in God is much greater than the facts. Now follow me on this. In Romans 15 verse 4, it says, "For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the Scripture might have hope." Amen. Okay. You start with Genesis all the way to Revelation. That was given to us, not to scorn us, not to punish us, but to bless us. Amen. That we may see the struggles of others. We may see Daniel in the den of lions. Amen. We may see, all the things that happen throughout all the Bible to those that love God and were afraid of God. And we read that, and that gives us comfort because we know how the story ends. We know that their promise has been true. We may have not been true. We may have slipped. We may have fallen, but God is always true. And God is a keeper of His promise. So what we have to do is say the facts is not as great as my faith. The problems that I'm enduring and going through is less than the promise of God. Amen. Because if it wasn't for that in flesh, we would go crazy. We would be a victim. We would be a slave to the things that we're suppressed and oppressed by of this world. But you know what? The promise of God is what we have. And what we have.